I hate that I made these mistakes for so long, and I'm actually a bit embarrassed to make this video, but it's my job to expose all, including my own mistakes. So let's get started. First of all, I used to be obsessed with foundation daily. This was before I got my skin to a place where actually I don't feel like I need to wear makeup anymore. So the two big mistakes I made with foundation was, number one, I didn't look at the inky list, and foundations would break me out, clog my pores, and later I learned that they were comedogenic. And the second really disgusting mistake is that I didn't used to clean my sponges, and I would put them back into my dirty makeup bag while they're slightly damp, which would just be a fest for bacteria and fungus. That also didn't help towards the health of my skin. Now my routine is, after I wash my face, I apply my fatty Cera-Pep moisturizer, my mineral SPF 50, and then I apply the concealer that I've made for us, which is actually skincare. It hasn't been released yet. It will be out in a few months. That's now literally my everyday go-to makeup. And when it comes to special occasions or filming in the studio like I'm doing right now, I'll wear my foundation. But when it comes to the sponge, I clean the sponge every time and I put it back into its own container so it's separate from anything else and there's no other bacteria that can get into it. The other question you guys ask me all the time is, Dr. V, what is a foundation that doesn't break you out? And I have investigated pretty much every brand that's in every major department store, and most of them either contain comedogenic ingredients or they contain denatured alcohol, which I understand why. It gives you a quick dry effect, which is important when it comes to preventing color transfer, or it contains ingredients that will worsen your acne. And so actually there are very few, and even the foundations that say that they're skincare aren't. And the reason is the people who make skincare are not the same people who make color cosmetics. These are actually two separate formulators. And so when I had to go from skincare to formulating color, it was an entire new discipline. So that's how it took me so long to create our concealers and make sure most of us are color matched. But if I was to start again with foundations, it would again be a huge learning curve for me. But if I created them, they would actually be skincare. If that's something you guys want me to do, can you write down yes below in the comment section? Dr. V, make us our colored foundations. You know, I'll probably be mineral SPF 50 in there as well. If you want me to do that, can you write it down below so I could just even gauge how many of you even want it? My second mistake happened in my 20s. I got early melasma and they looked like cute little freckles until my mom turned around and said, no, Vanita, those aren't cute freckles, that's early stage melasma, i.e. your melanocytes have been triggered, and if you're not careful, this is a warning sign to you because it means you're not applying your sunscreen every 2 hours and your skin is telling you off. And so I thought I would be clever and I thought, let me go and buy a scrub and see if I can scrub off those dark marks from my face, which feels like the intuitive thing to do. And actually what I would notice is the following day, my skin actually looked brighter. And the reason is that I basically scrubbed off the top layer of dead skin cells. But the problem was I hadn't actually treated the hyperactive melanocyte underneath, the cell that was producing the pigment melanin. It was still spitting out melanin at a rate faster than the rest of my skin. A few days later, a few weeks later, those skin cells came to the surface and those dark marks would be back again, and often they were darker than before. What I learned here really was about tyrosinase inhibitors, and actually we created the facial pigmentation kit with 10 tyrosinase inhibitors in it for you. I wouldn't say start with this first if you have melasma. It's an expensive kit. Start with your 2% alpha arbutin from the Ordinary or from the Inky list or from Minimalist, and if that doesn't work after a few months, you can upgrade to our facial pigmentation kit specifically for skin of color. I think the key here is never be too aggressive with your skin. What you'll notice is, for example, if you're on your knees scrubbing a lot or you're using your elbows a lot, that can even lead to pigmentation. Any form of friction or inflammation of the skin can lead to hyperpigmentation. As I always say, one scratch, one bite, or one burn, and we hyperpigment. We cannot afford to be as aggressive with our skin as Caucasians can. And this is why education is so important for skin of color. It's the reason I created this channel. It's a reason I'm dedicated to skin of color and why I don't accept sponsorship from any brand ever. So we have one channel which is evidence-based. My third big mistake was lip hyperpigmentation. I didn't realize that a lot of lipsticks have ingredients in them that can irritate the lips and lead to lip hyperpigmentation. On top of that, I wasn't wearing lip SPF 50, and so I was allowing the pigmentation to get worse and worse. And to make matters worse, I loved Carmex. Carmex was, and still is actually, a bestseller. It gives you that tingle, you feel like you're really hydrating the lip, but actually your lips become very dry. You end up licking your lips. That basically allows amylase, an enzyme, to break down the skin on the lips, can lead to cracking, and again, more hyperpigmentation. All of this is such a big problem for skin of color because we get lip hyperpigmentation. Now what I do is we wear lip SPF 50, so Sunsense has a very good one. And actually I'm working on a mineral SPF 50 lip balm just for myself. If it's something that you guys want, let me know. You know, I don't just do mineral sunscreens and mineral lip balms. You know, there's gonna be a lot of exciting ingredients in there too, which I can't talk about right now. But if it is something that you want, can you write down lip SPF 50 Dr. V and make it amazing? Number 4 was a real disaster, and that was my first time I went to a spa and got a facial. I didn't know what I was doing. I was in my 20s and I thought, do you know what, they're the professionals. I don't even want to make a scene. I'm not even going to ask what the steps are. I'm just going to go with it and pray that everything's going to be fine. And actually they started steaming my face and my face felt like it was burning, and then they were extracting. And I thought that this was just normal procedure, but actually my skin felt so sore and painful afterwards, and it just felt like a real waste of effort. Nothing even came out. And actually what they'd done was damage my skin barrier and lead to redness and sensitivity of the skin. But again, you come out looking red and flushed, thinking this is how you're supposed to look when you come out of a facial. So you feel like something's been done. But actually, that's the worst thing we could do for skin of color. In fact, we don't want to steam the skin. We want to use humidifiers. We want to add water to the skin, not dehydrate the skin. We don't want to do heavy extraction. We don't want to do heavy exfoliation. Often you'll find chemical exfoliation plus physical exfoliation all in the same facial, which is an absolute disaster for skin of color. Please never do that. So what I say to you always is ask them what the steps are. What are the different steps you're going to do to my skin? How are you going to exfoliate my skin? What are you using? And actually I've made a whole video on a modified hydrofacial. I don't even like the normal hydrofacial for skin of color because actually I've even seen scratches and burns with that on skin of color. I created a video just on modified versions that I highly recommend you write down the steps and go to your hydrofacial therapist and say, these are things I want to remove and these are things I want to keep, just to make sure the skin is safe, especially if you're doing this for a special day. You certainly don't want to go in just before your wedding day and get something like this done, because if you can't put makeup on your wedding day because the skin barrier is damaged, you're gonna be upset with yourself. So please try to avoid what I did to my skin in my 20s. It's not worth it. The next big mistake I made was actually on a photo shoot. It was on a big photo shoot for a big magazine, and they did heavy makeup on my eyes, and then they baked around the eyes using powder. And it was a very popular brand that many of us have used, and I had a huge reaction to it. And my whole face came up in hives. I imagine that was my wedding day. That would have been an absolute disaster. On top of that, when you use powder around the eye area, it actually makes your fine lines look worse, because what you're doing is you're absorbing fats when actually what you want is fats around the eye area. You want skin mimickers. This is why when we made our concealers, which hopefully you'll get in the next few months, they're skin mimickers. They're actually for mature skin. They don't sit in the creases. They literally follow your skin as if it is your skin itself. And a big part of that is starting off with fats being very high up on the inky list. And so the worst thing you can do at that point is then put powder on top, which then cakes around the eye area, makes your fine lines worse. And actually you can even react if there's anything in there, including fragrance. Now what I do is I apply my mineral SPF 50, and I actually use translucent powder, mainly in the T-zone areas, sometimes around the jaw, and I keep my cheeks so I get that glow. Now here are 3 bonus swaps that I used that actually improved my skin. The first mistake I used to make was stealing my mum's makeup. And this was a problem because actually her skincare and her makeup really didn't suit younger skin. I mean, she was using Estee Lauder, Dior, heavily fragranced. Really wouldn't recommend it for anyone, but especially when you're young, you definitely don't want any fragrance on the skin. And so there was that, plus there was the bacterial contamination that would happen because I didn't know about washing brushes. I would literally use her brushes, her lipstick, and put it directly onto my face. And then the other day I caught Sienna doing the same thing with my own makeup. And so actually this cycle will continue. I'm sure it's happening in many households, but actually now Sienna has her own skincare routine. And any SPF 50 makeup that I make for myself, she'll try it, but I will make her one, so we're not getting any bacterial contamination. So that's the number one thing I would say, is if you have other people in your house that like to steal your stuff, including your skincare and your makeup, just make sure that you ring fence your stuff and you're just not getting that bacterial contamination. The next swap I did was makeup brushes. So if I have any makeup artist, even when I was in India or here, I actually buy my own makeup brushes. So there's no potential for cross-contamination, because even though they're washing their brushes, you can never fully clear out all the bacteria from inside the brush. And so actually I'd rather just have my own flora on my own skin rather than mixing with other people. And so if you are getting married or you are using a makeup artist or something, I highly recommend buying your own makeup brushes and doing it that way. And number 8 was a really big one, and that was that all of us in our family growing up would use the same moisturizer for our face and body, literally the same tub. And now I look back, I just think it was so cute and funny, because actually we've all got different needs. A teenager's got completely different needs when it comes to moisturization. They need light gel moisturizers. As we get older, we need heavier moisturizers with ceramides and peptides and niacinamide. And actually, the moisturizers you're putting on your feet aren't the same ones that you want to put on your face. On top of that, we didn't even have airless pumps back then. It was literally the same tub that we would all be sharing out of. So can you even imagine the amount of bacteria contamination that was happening there? The other big swap was that everyone has their own moisturizer based on their own needs. Don't forget, I'm in the comment section for 1 hour at the launch of every YouTube video. So when you subscribe, hit that notification bell so I can answer your questions. If you've got any other YouTube videos you want me to make, can you write them down below? And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.